Today, we are going to be talking about change. Over the last week or so, this is episode 15, almost week and a half, we've been talking about the stages of change, the 12 stages of healing. And Tasha, you got Jack this shirt. That's awesome. Geniuses buy this shirt. So yes, we are um, talking about change, and the whole culmination, the whole purpose of all of these different 12 stages is to master the flow of change. Now, a lot of times in our life, change is a dirty word. We're like, no, I don't want it. I want to resist it. I want to stay as far away from change. I want my normal. I want my comfortable. And at the end of the day, too much of that leads to stagnation and then eventual death. What most of us are really afraid of is change that we are not in a line with, change that we are not in the flow of. When things are changing and we are resisting, or when we're trying to resist and whenever we're trying to change and things are resistive to that, it's really that fight, that struggle that most of us are actually afraid of. It's not necessarily the change. As we talked about before in one of the other episodes, change is really the only constant in the universe. So the more and more we struggle with finding how to flow with this process, the more we are trying to flow whenever everything else is telling us to slow. The more we are trying to slow while everything else is telling us to flow, that's whenever we can really shoot ourselves in the foot. So today we're actually going to do our exercise first. And doing our exercise first, we are going to connect. We are going to get in sync. We are going to get in the flow within ourselves so that as we go through this information, we will have these kind of spontaneous, aha, realizations as far as where is this showing up in our lives. Okay, so the first exercise that we're going to do, I believe we did this one either day 1, day 2, day 3, something over there. It's going to be the cross crawl exercise to get both hemispheres of our brain firing together. And when both hemispheres of our brain are firing together, when we got the flow up top, the next exercise we're going to do is the one that kind of synchronizes all of the different meridians. Okay, so everybody get up, move. You don't necessarily need to see me for this. I'll guide you through it with my words, but find a space that you can stretch your arms completely out in front of you, alongside of you, and you're just going to be kind of pivoting like this. So as long as those arms can be out to the side, as long as the legs can be spread out, we're going to be pretty good. So go ahead and stand up, find that place or space that you can kind of move around uninhibited. We're going to do a little bit of movement today, but today's a lazy day. It's a beautiful, snowy, stay inside day. So I'm not going to push you too hard as far as the movement goes, but I am going to push you really hard as far as your comfort zones in what you're used to choosing and the comfort that you have about yourself and the stagnant nature of yourself. So everybody get up. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and get into kind of like a lunge. Okay, when we're getting into this lunge, we want the front leg to be slightly bent so that whenever we look down, right over our knee, we're going to see our toes. Okay, and what I'm going to ask you to do is I'm going to ask you right now to put your right knee and leg forward, and your left leg is going to be behind you at a comfortable enough distance behind you that your heel can be flat on the floor. If that leg is too far behind you, and the knee is going to be straight on the left leg, but if that leg is too far behind you, that heel will be coming up a little bit and you're kind of be more on the balls of your feet or your toes. So what we want is we want the weight to be evenly distributed between our heels and the balls of our feet. The left leg is straight and it's behind us. The right leg is bent and at the knee, and it is in front of us. Now we're going to take our left hand and we're going to put our left hand in front of us, okay? And we're going to take our right hand and we're going to put our right hand behind us. Now the palms are face down, okay? So the right knee is in front, the left arm is in front, the left leg is behind, the right arm is behind. Okay, we're going to stretch our knees away from each other. We're going to stretch our elbows away from each other, forward and backwards. What we're going to do is we're going to take our head and we're going to tilt our head to the left arm as if we're trying to bring our ear to our shoulder. And as we're doing that, we're going to be looking down our left arm, almost like you're looking between the knuckles of your pointer finger and your middle finger, kind of like you're sighting down on a camera or a gun. As you're tilting that head over, that ear is as close to your shoulder as you can get, directly off to the side. Try not to turn it. Try just to tilt the head straight off to the side. Now, while you're looking down the arm, you're going to close your right eye, which is actually going to be your top eye. So your left eye is looking directly down the arm. You're going to take a big, deep breath in and hold that breath. Stretch the arms, stretch the legs. Keep the right eye closed, holding the breath, holding it, squeezing, stretching, squeezing, stretching, squeezing until you can't hold it anymore. And then you're going to release it. And you're going to swing the body around. You're going to pivot to where now you're looking to the other side, the total opposite direction. Your right arm is in front. Your left knee is bent and in front. Your right leg is straight behind with the heel on the ground. Your left arm is behind. Palms are down. Arms straight in front and behind. Legs straight in front and behind. Tilt the head so that you're looking, so that your right ear is as close to your right shoulder as you can possibly get it. Closing the left eye, looking directly between the pointer and the middle finger. Take a big, deep breath in and hold that breath. Hold that breath. Stretch the arms forward and backwards. Stretch the legs forward and backwards. Stretch the head to the right. Holding the breath, stretching, squeezing, holding the breath, stretching and squeezing, holding, stretching and squeezing until you just can't hold it anymore. And whenever you can't hold it anymore, then just go ahead and let it out. And switch to the opposite side. Again, right knee is in front, knee bent, left leg is behind, straight knee, heel on the ground. Left arm is in front, right arm is behind, palms facing the ground, tilting the head straight over so the left ear is resting on the left shoulder, closing the right eye, looking directly down the arm. Big deep breath in, hold the breath, stretch the upper half of the body, stretch the lower half of the body, stretch the neck off to the side, stretching, holding, stretching, holding, squeezing, stretching, holding, squeezing, stretching, holding until we can't hold it anymore. And we can't hold it anymore. Let the breath out and pivot to the opposite side. Left knee in front, right leg straight behind, left arm out in front, straight ahead, right arm straight behind, palms down. Tilt the head to the right, right ear to right shoulder, left eye closed, looking down the arm right between those two fingers. Big deep breath in, hold it, stretch and hold and stretch and hold and stretch. Stretch the legs apart, stretch the arms apart, stretch the head off to the right, stretch and hold, tighter, stretch and hold tighter until you can't hold the breath anymore. And then let it out. Pivot around to the other side, one more round. Right leg in front, knee bent, left leg behind, knee straight, left arm out to the front, right arm straight out to the back, palms down, tilt the head to the left, left ear to left shoulder, right eye closed, Big deep breath in, big deep breath in, hold the breath. Big deep breath in, hold the breath. Stretch the arm, stretch the left arm forward, stretch the right arm backwards, stretch the right knee forward, stretch the left leg backwards, stretching the neck off to the side. Stretch and hold, squeeze, stretch and hold, squeeze, stretch and hold, squeeze. And whenever you can't hold it anymore, let it all out. Switch over to the other side. One more time. We're almost there. Right arm in front, left arm behind, palms down, left leg in front, knee bent, right leg behind, knee straight. Take a big stretch to the right ear, to the right shoulder, straight off to the side, no turning, just tilting. Close the left eye. Big deep breath in, hold the breath, stretch the body, stretch the arms away from each other, stretch the legs away from the other, twisting the upper half forward, twisting the lower half behind. Big deep breath in, hold and squeeze, hold and squeeze, hold and squeeze, hold and squeeze. And when you can't hold it anymore, let it go, let it go, let it go, let it go. Feel the space around the body. Feel the space within the body. Nice and easy. Now go ahead and have a seat. Okay, what we're going to do is as we're sitting down, see if I can tilt down just like this. Okay, we're going to take our left leg and we're going to put our left ankle directly over our right knee. Okay, we're going to reach down with our right hand and we're going to grab the ankle. And with our left hand, we're going to reach over and we're going to grab the bottom of the heel. Okay, as we inhale, we're going to pull everything up, pull the upper chest up, pull the head back, pull the leg up. So in the nose, out the mouth. In the nose, out the mouth. In the nose, out the mouth. 3, in the nose, out the mouth. 4, in the nose, out the mouth. 5, in the nose, out the mouth. 6, in the nose, out the mouth. 7, in the nose, out the mouth. 8, one more, in the nose, out the mouth. 9, and then switch. Right ankle over the left knee. With the left hand, we're going to grab the ankle. With the right hand, we're going to reach across and grab the underside of the heel. Big deep breath in the nose. Pulling up, exhale. In the nose. Pulling up, exhale. In the nose, pulling up. Exhale. In the nose. Pulling up, exhale. 4, in the nose. Exhale. 5, in the nose. Exhale. 6, in the nose. Exhale. 7. 8, one more. 9. Now, we're going to sit up straight. We're going to put our hands, prayer position, right over the heart. Inhale. 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 3. Inhale. 4. 5. 6. 7. 8. 9. Now with the thumbs right on the center of the eyebrows. Big deep breath in. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Really get in there. 8. Don't let your body control you. 9. Right at the top of the head. One more. Really get in there. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Now take the fingers, pull the fingers across the forehead as we inhale, exhale, shaking everything off. Inhale, pull across the top of the head, shake everything off. Inhale, pull across the top back of the head, shake it off. Inhale, behind the back of the head, shake it off. Inhale, pull off the neck, shake it off, and relax. Okay? Now everybody really tune in. What's different after doing those exercises? What's different in what you experience in the space around your body? What's different in the space that you experience within your body? What's different about your thought space? What's different about your emotional space? Okay, subtle differences can be extremely powerful. Big, obvious differences are great. That's not always the way to go. So now I am going to go ahead and awesome. Christine feels more open. Yay. That's what we want to go for. So, ooh, Connie feels warmer. That's a great thing to feel on a cold day like today. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to go to a quick screen share. And Connie, if you could keep an eye on Facebook and on...
Yep, I've got the booking face open and the chat and all that good stuff.
Yeah, and the chat open. If anybody has any questions, please, please, please interrupt me. I'm going to go ahead and close my chat so I can't see it, so you won't be able to see it on my screen. And we will go ahead and get started on change. Yes, it really is what you want, despite what most of us are terrified of. So as we go through this, what our goal is not to produce change for the sake of change. Our goal is to be able to flow with all of the changes that are happening around us so that we are neither pushing too hard nor are we pushed too hard against. This is what most people are terrified of whenever they are talking about change. It's not necessarily the change, it's the pain that most people experience whenever they are out of sync with the natural flow of change. Now, the natural flow of change is the combination of the change in the external environment with the change of the internal environment. Both environments need to be honored because the rate and the flow of change is always a union. It's always a marriage. It's always a relationship between that inner environment and that outer environment. So change really is what you want. But again, it's effortless change. It is flowing change. It is when we're effortless and when we're flowing, there's a lot of fun that comes along with that, a lot of joy as well as a lot of peace. And how many of you in your life right now, and maybe things are a little bit slower, so it's a little bit easier to tap into this, but how many of you would really want and almost kind of need more peace with all of the changes that are coming along? And if you had that peace with the change, how much easier would it be to be able to make the shift, to experience the change with both peace and joy? And then life becomes the adventure and the wild ride that it really is meant to be. So the first thing that we're going to talk about is something that I get a lot of questions about. It's a little bit of a challenge to explain this because this is very much of an experiential thing. Now, whenever you come in and get adjusted, if you're a member of Organic Living Chiropractic, part of my job is to kind of help identify what your unique recipe for change is. Now, the change that I apply that to is going to be the changes that you experience whenever you're here on the table, and how that affects the adjustments and how they affect the changes in your everyday life. So for quite a few people, I have a general idea of what their right recipe for approaching change is. But unless you experience this in your life, if I were just to tell you what your recipe is, there's not a lot of change that can happen in that. Everything incorporates change. Yes, we all have a unique recipe, but that unique recipe may look different, and the components of it may change a little bit based on not only what's going on with us, but what's the circumstance that we're in. So whenever we're talking about change, and we're talking about the change that the individual will go through, there's really three basic components to any sort of change. And those components can come about in different orders. If we can approach change with one of these components at the forefront of our mind, it's going to be a lot more effortless to go through that change. It's going to be a lot more energizing. We are going to gain energy by focusing on this one component first. Okay. Another one of these components is going to be what's called our drain, our struggle, the one that is going to produce the least amount of change whenever we're focused on it. And it's going to require the most amount of effort to produce the least amount of change. So that's kind of the one that we don't necessarily want to avoid. But what we want to do is we want to put our focus on the two other components first, and then just allow those two other components to draw us into the third. So it's kind of like the third just gets filled up. It just lights up on its own. Now, the third, the drain, is not the bad one. Okay, it's actually our most stable characteristic. It's our most stable aspect of ourselves. And because it's the most stable, it's the one that is going to that's going to require the most amount of energy going in to create a change. Okay, a bicycle is inherently unstable. It's on two wheels. You have to get enough momentum going in order for that stability to be there. And because it is so unstable, it's extremely easy to turn. Okay. A car, four wheels solidly on the ground, is inherently stable. And because it's inherently stable, it requires power steering to assist you in turning. Now, I have a 1973 Volkswagen Beetle. It doesn't have any power steering. And I can tell you that if you're just sitting there with no momentum going, no energy into the system, it is very hard to turn that wheel. Okay, so the most stable part of us is great. It's a gift that we have. But because it's stable, the more we approach change focused on it, the more energy it's going to require to make that change happen, the less efficient we're going to be. If we go to the most unstable aspect of ourselves or component about us, and we enact change there, that instability and that change starting from the place of instability is going to create a momentum. It's going to actually add energy into our system, which will then flow down into that middle structure, which we call our keystone. And then finally, those two getting together will have enough momentum to bring the stable part, to bring the drain along with us. Okay, so the first part in our recipe, our lead strategy, ideally is called our prime. Okay, now our prime, most of the time, we approach change with our prime unconsciously. It's those times in life in which change has happened, very, very drastically. Okay, if you look back on all the times in your life where big change has come about, and on the other side of that big change, you were just like, oh my gosh, my life is so much better off because I had that change. Most likely, if you look back, you ended up approaching that change for whatever reason through your prime strategy. But again, this is the one that we will enact subconsciously. And so it happens kind of randomly in our life. The middle one, our keystone, Okay, this is the one that we will typically consciously try to approach change with. It's the one that when somebody asks you to make a change, you automatically, almost without thinking, just start playing around with and acting through. Okay, and then that last part, the most stable structure, Donnie used to call this the drain. He's actually now calling it the gift, because again, it's the most inherently stable, and whenever it has a lot of energy, boom, the change happens automatically, but it requires a lot of energy. And so that's why it's great to start with the other structures. Okay, I mean the other components. Okay, so in this, okay, the three different components that build your unique recipe are going to be perception. Okay, now perception is your thoughts, it's your feelings, it's your stories that you tell yourself about circumstances and about yourself and about life. It's your dreams, it's your goals, it's your plans, it is your why, the inspiration behind the change. It is going to be the information that's required to make a change. You know, if you all of a sudden want to start cooking, okay, and you lead with perception, well, the first thing to do would be to go watch some cooking shows, and you get that inspiration, you get the feeling, you get the joy, you get the desire to want to go cook. You get the information about, you know, what are some of the different things that are involved in the cooking process. Okay, so then the other component that's involved in all change is going to be behavior. Well, what do you do? Okay, what are the actions? What is the flow? What does the movie look like whenever you're approaching change? Okay, so if you are a behavior prime and you want to approach, you know, the change in your life of starting to cook more, well, one of the things that you might do is you might go into the kitchen and you might start grabbing out a whole bunch of ingredients and just looking around and really feeling, you know, each one of the ingredients, taking a whole bunch of stuff out, you know, before you even have a plan. You're just in the process of cooking. Okay, you're in the behavior of cooking. Okay, you're grabbing the pots and the pans. You're looking over and you're just seeing what are all the different tools that you have at your disposal. You know, you're heating up the stove. And then in this process, once you get into the behavior, once you get into the flow of cooking, you start to get kind of inspired and you start to see a plan kind of unfolding in front of you. So behavior primes, they need to be in the flow of actually doing something, okay, before the information or the inspiration comes about and before what we're going to go into next, which is the structure. Okay, so the third component to all change is going to be structure. Okay, it's going to be the layout, exactly how, the order in which things are done. It's going to be the environment that you're in. It's going to be the structure of your body. It's going to be the exact size and the shape of the pan that you're going to be cooking through. So if you are a structure prime and you're going to approach, you know, getting more change in your life in regards to cooking more, what you're going to do is you are going to open up a recipe book and you are going to look at exactly how do I go about this process of cooking. You know, in the recipe books, do you grab your you know, your saucepans and your utensils first, or do you get your ingredients ready first? Which one of those is going to be the most important in the process of you going through the cooking? And once you've got all the tools that you're going to need, and once you've got all of the ingredients that you're going to need, then you're going to be able to get that inspiration and be able to go through the process, through the behavior of actually cooking. Okay, so each one of us has one of these that's going to be the ideal to lead with. Each one of these has one that we typically try to lead with. And you know, we can approach change through our keystone, through the middle one, but it's going to require way more energy and way more effort than if we'll go through with our prime. And there's going to be one in here that is going to be the most challenging to approach change with. So I'll give you an example out of my life. My triad of change for most of my life has been structure, behavior, perception. And it might have switched a little bit recently in certain circumstances. But so for me in structure, okay, the environment that I am is very, very important for me to be able to have specific behaviors and have specific feelings and thoughts. And it doesn't mean I'm a victim to my environment. It just means that if I want to feel something very differently, perception, which is way down at the bottom of the list, it's really easy for me to just go outside and automatically my feelings will start to change. It's really easy for me to kind of look around in my environment and go, wow, this environment's a little bit cluttered. So the environment is cluttered. I need to change my environment. I'm focused on the structure. So I'll go ahead and organize this section of my environment right here. And now that this section, now I've gone through the behavior of organizing the section that's immediately around me, wow, I feel so much more open. I feel so much more creative. I feel so much more of an ability to be in the flow of things. Okay. Because perception is towards the bottom of my list, what this means is if I watch a cooking show to get inspiration for cooking, I am going to watch that show and I am going to get all the information. I'm going to get all the details about it. And then I'm going to watch another cooking show because it was really, really interesting and I really enjoyed. I felt really inspired while I was watching that cooking show. But remember, perception's my drain. So I'm focusing on how I feel. I'm focusing on the information that I'm gathering. And the more and more I focus on how I feel and the information I'm gathering, the more it just kind of spirals around. And then 4 hours later, I'm stuck on the couch and I've watched an entire series of whatever cooking show and I haven't actually gotten any cooking done. So just the recognition of what is the best way that each one of us approaches change with. Okay. One of the ways that you can kind of identify some of your lead strategies or the way that you approach life, okay, is really look at, number one, how do you think that you approach change with, okay? If somebody asks you to start a workout routine, okay, well, what do you naturally gravitate to? Well, if I'm going to start a workout routine, okay, structure is going to be, okay, well, maybe I need to go to a class. Maybe I need to have, somebody around me. Maybe I need to have some music going on. Maybe I need to, have all of my equipment, laid out. So in order to do that routine, do I typically approach that routine through a structure standpoint? What time am I going to do that routine in my daily schedule? Okay. Behavior is, okay, well, I need to go through the motion of this workout routine. And once I go through the motion of this workout routine, oh yeah, I got it. It's going to be no problem to incorporate that into the structure of my day. And I can really feel that I got it. Okay. Or perception. Okay. Whenever somebody asks you to start a workout routine, do you go into, okay, well, tell me, why this routine? What's so important about this routine? Why is this routine better than other routines? And what, I'm not really feeling like I want to work out today. And, because I'm not really feeling that I'm work out today, it's probably not going to happen. So what needs to happen so that I can feel pumped up? And then once I feel pumped up, I'll be able to get into that routine. So it is the feelings and the information and the thoughts behind it. Okay. So whenever you're thinking that, whenever you're going through that kind of scenario, most of the time, and we're going to get caught up, we're going to talk about this in just a minute. Most of the time, what we're thinking about is usually going to be our middle strategy. It's usually going to be our keystone. It's usually going to be the one that is not the most efficient, but yet it's not the least efficient either. Okay, so more likely than not, whichever one of those that you identified with is probably going to be the keystone. Okay, now what I'm going to ask you to do is I'm going to ask you to really think about someone or something that you are just so lit up by, you are so moved by. I mean, they inspire you, or it inspires you. There's so much love there. There is so much synchronicity. There's so much of a strong dynamic in a relationship. Think of something or someone that just lights you up, and you are just so, oh man, just even thinking about this, much less being around them or doing this. This is like the thing that's just like, wow. Okay, get that really, really high energy state. Feel and connect to that person or that thing. Whenever you are imagining that person or that thing, okay, is that person or that thing, is it a snapshot? Is it a still image in your mind? And with that still snapshot, you just are, oh man, you're thinking about all the things you're going to do, and you're feeling all of this connection. You're feeling all this great thing. Okay, so if that image that you have is a still snapshot, then structure may be your prime. Okay, whenever you are thinking about this person or this scenario, is the picture that you have in your mind, is it a moving picture? Is it like a movie? Are you watching all of the different things that you can do and be, and the memories and the hopes and the dreams? Are you watching it all play out like there's a flow to it? Okay, if it's something that you're super passionate about, or someone that you're super passionate about, and you notice there's a lot of movement involved in the mental image that you have whenever you go to them, then you may be a behavior prime. Okay, and lastly is the perception. Okay, if you're thinking about this person or this thing that just lights you up and you're super passionate about, okay, are there lots and lots of feelings, lots of different feelings in lots of different places, in and around you? And are there lots of metaphors and lots of stories that are going on inside you and around you about why, you're so connected, and what's it like to be connected, and what if everyone else had this connection? So is there a lot of stories, a lot of unique individual feelings, but there's a lot of them. It's not just one or two. You can really tune into the nuances and the flavors of the relationship. So if that's what you experience, is a lot of the why, a lot of the stories, a lot of the analogies. It's almost like whenever you're imagining this thing or this person, you're not even picturing memories. Your mind's just kind of building almost this imaginary story or landscape that may have never happened. But each one of those pictures, each one of those aspects of the story or landscape has a meaning for you in your relationship. If this is the way that you experience someone or something that you're really passionate about, then perception may be your prime. Okay. Now, what I want you to do is I want you to tune in to someone or something that really sucks. I mean, it's something or someone that when you tune into, it's just like all the air leaves the room, and your body, just the posture crumples, and you just dread just the thought or the idea of having to interact or having a dynamic with this person or this thing. Okay. Now freeze that, whatever you're experiencing. I want you to freeze it. And is that what you're experiencing? Is it a still snapshot? Okay. Is it a moving picture, very dynamic? Okay. Is it a story? Is it an analogy? Is it just a pure feeling with no image involved with it? Okay. If whatever it is that you just dread and just sucks so much, if it's a solid thing, if it's a solid snapshot, okay, most likely you're a structure drain. Okay. If that thing that you just dread and can't stand is a feeling or a story or an analogy, then most likely you're a perception drain. If that thing that you dread is very dynamic and it's moving and it's like this movie that you're watching over in your head, then most likely you're a behavior drain. Okay. So however you experience that really passionate, amazing aspect in your life, however you experience it, that gives you a clue as far as what is your ideal approach to life going to be around. Because everything in life is just energy and information. Okay, there's nothing that really, really sucks. And there's nothing that really, really is amazing. It's how we are interacting, how we are observing with these things. If there is no observer, there's no one or nothing there to cast a judgment of really shitty or really amazing. Excuse my language. So by changing the way that we observe life, we are able to change our experience of life. And when we are observing life from our authentic, natural standpoint, when we're observing life in a way that honors and is in harmony with who we uniquely are, and we are at a high, high energy state, we will observe life, even the crappy parts of life. We'll be able to see how those crappy parts fit in. We'll be able to see how those crappy parts really add to the whole, and we won't experience them as crappy. We may not ever experience them as, something that we would choose and desire all the time. But at the same time, it's not the pain and the suffering. Whereas when we are observing life, when we're viewing life against our authentic nature, when we are viewing it outside of who we truly are, when we are viewing it from a very, very low energy state, then even the amazing things in life, we won't be able to experience as amazing. We will experience it all as crappy, and the really crappy stuff we will fixate on, and we will ruminate on, and we won't let it go, and it just becomes this vicious cycle. Okay, so identifying what is your authentic nature is one of the ways not only to approach change, like to make change, but also to change the way that you experience those things that are outside of your control and your ability to change. Okay, so another way to look at this, okay, is going to be your triad of focus. Okay, so when you're focusing on something, when you're in the process of change, identifying, and you can do this through SRI, okay, is identifying where is the most ideal place to put your focus, and where is the most energy draining or energy sucking place to put your focus. Okay, so in SRI, one of the ways to identify this is as you're breathing into these individual spots, okay, when you find that place where you can just let go and drop in and everything just melts and flows and, is amazing, okay, within that, okay, is that place or space, is it in the actual movement of the breath? Is it in the expansion and the collapse of the rib cage and the chest? Is it in the rise and the fall? Excuse me. Hey, girls, I need you to be quiet, please. Speaking of change, if you ever want to understand masters of change, just watch little kids. They flow with change so amazingly. They will go from one emotion to another emotion, and they can be extremely heightened emotions, and they will just flow in and out. Hang on just 1 second. Okay, if I have to say it again, Juliana, Zoe, you're going to get in trouble. One more time, you'll lose shows. Don't want to hear it. Nope. Like I said, the flow of emotions is very, very strong with these two. So in this, hang on just 1 second. Okay, out of the back, 1. Out of the back, 2, I ask you to be quiet. And you out of the back, Joanna, if you keep making noise, no more shows today. No more. Quiet. Okay, and I'm back. So one of the things that we can focus on, or one of the ways that we can identify whatever our ideal way of focusing is again, whenever you find that place or space and you just totally collapse into it. Are you collapsing into the movement? Are you collapsing into the structure of your body, letting go and dropping deeper and deeper? Okay. Are you able to find that place or space of peace and ease in the breath, in the inhale and in the exhale? Okay, is it the exhale where just all the air just flowing out of the body is just so amazing? Are you in that? Is it the flow of energy? Okay, is it that all of everything coming into the body during the inhale and just flowing out of the body during the exhale? Which one of these is the easiest for you to find that place or that space where you can just completely let go into the process, and the process just keeps unfolding and you're almost just watching that process? Okay, so as we go through life, recognizing which one's the right one to focus on. If you come about in a time or a place in your life in which it's like you're struggling to change, or you know that your energy level is really low, well, this would be to one of the things to put your focus on. Okay, how is your body moving through whatever it is that you are attempting to go into this change with? What is your breath like? Okay, what is the space and the flow of the energy in and around you like? Okay, so by identifying which one of these is ideal for you to focus on in SRI is also going to help you to identify which one of these is the best thing for you to put your focus on whenever you're making a change in the regular world and your regular life. Okay, so now we're going to talk about energy states. Now, energy is just the potential to do work. Okay, so if you have a really high energy potential, if you have a really high energy state, that means there's lots and lots of potential for change. And because there's so much potential to change, it doesn't require you pushing hard. It doesn't require you efforting. There's so much potential, so many things that are just flowing that it's just automatically change just starts to happen. Okay, and I saw that somebody's raised their hand. So I'm going to come out of this real quick and open up. Where did chat go? See, stop sharing. And there's chat. All right. And then we're going to start sharing again. And now we have chat going on. Okay. Oops. No hand. All right. Good. Oh, I thought I saw.
Lisa has her hand up. I just didn't see the hand because I didn't have the participant.
Yes.
I only had the chat.
Okay, here we go. We'll
so
do
Lisa
this.
has her hand up.
Lisa, will you go ahead and... Lisa, I cannot unmute you. You're going to have to unmute yourself. Or you can type it into the chat. All right. So while Lisa's doing that, we'll go ahead and get going again. We will always ask questions later. Okay. So in this, again, the more energy that we have, the more potential that we have, the less we're going to have to push and strive and try, and the more things will just naturally happen effortlessly. Okay, so when our system or any system is in an energy poor state, what that means is it is either in the process of collapsing or it is right about to collapse. The system does not have enough potential to maintain the organizational state that it's in, and therefore, because that potential is there, that system is collapsing in and reorganizing, but it's reorganizing to a lower level of organization. Okay, so if you have a brick wall, then that brick wall is standing up. All of the mortar in between the bricks is holding each brick upright. Okay, but if that mortar starts to fail, if it starts to dissipate, if it can't do its job, if there's not enough energy in that mortar to hold the wall together, the upright posture of that wall requires more energy than all of the bricks just being scattered on the ground. So all of the bricks being scattered on the ground is a level of organization, but it's a much lower level of organization. Okay, this is where all diseases and all symptoms are our body's strategies to maintain a specific energy level so that it does not go into further collapse and destruction. So a lot of times we consider our symptoms and our diseases as some sort of bad thing, but in reality, what they are is they are the body's intelligent response to not having enough energy to organize the body at a higher level because of all the stress. Okay, and so in order to buffer against the total collapse of the system, the body will reorient the way that it's using energy, and a lot of times that is in a less than efficient way, and so it creates small disorders all over the place, and that's typically what we will focus on and experience. But small disorders all over the place are much, much better than large system collapses. Okay, so energy neutral. Okay, there's two levels of energy neutral: low energy neutral, and energy neutral as a whole. The focus or the point of energy neutral is to maintain the system where it is. Okay, if we're low energy neutral, what that means is our system is not in danger of collapse, but we have to keep things the way that they are so that we don't move into that level of collapse. Okay, so we're constantly putting in energy into the system, but in order to maintain it where it is. Okay, if we're high energy neutral, what this means is we want to keep the system going the way that it is because it's going really well. Okay, things are actually working and we are maintaining things working. Okay, now high energy neutral is amazing. It is a phenomenal place to be. It is really where we want to have our goal as far as what the majority of our life really is. Low energy neutral is light years better than energy poor. Okay, so low energy neutral is not bad. It's the state of rest. It's the state of, whenever you're going to sleep or whenever you're kicking back with your family watching a movie. That's that low energy neutral. And this is a good place to be, okay, because we're conserving energy in energy neutral. Okay, high energy neutral, a lot of times, high energy neutral, it can be kind of tricky because the system has enough energy to maintain, and it even has enough potential to handle small changes. But if we want large changes, high energy neutral will actually keep things the status quo. And the more energy and effort we put into it, okay, what we'll end up doing is just spinning our wheels, and we're making it happen, or it's gonna happen, or whatever else it is. Whereas energy rich, okay, whenever we have an abundance of potential, when we have an abundance of energy, it's not about trying to happen or making it happen or going through the process. Energy rich it is happening. I am just in the flow of this. I am in the zone. Okay, so with energy rich, there is so much energy within our system that it's actually impacting and spreading and feeding potential into the systems around us. So there's a coherence that's going on. There's a relationship that's happening. There's synchronicities that are happening, and things are happening in a way that we wouldn't necessarily be able to imagine or control them to happen. But it's just like, wow, this is so much in the flow. Everything is happening perfectly. So energy rich is not only high energy, a lot of potential, but it's a coherence in that potential. It's an efficiency in that potential, not just in the individual systems, but with the relationship between the systems all around. Okay, and that relationship is a lot easier to form whenever we as a system will choose energy rich coherent, and we start giving off this potential and feeding into the systems around us. And when those systems around us are fueled, they start giving off this, and now we're in a flow. Now we're in a dynamic. Now we're not in this give and receive dynamic. So there's not a sucking, there's not a lack anywhere. It literally is an abundance. Okay, but like I said, high energy neutral is tricky because high energy neutral is all about effort. It's all about willpower. Okay, so our goal in life is to really be able to maintain high energy neutral, but have enough resourcefulness to be able to jump into energy rich at any given moment. Okay, and resourcefulness is so much more important than the amount or quality of resources. Because the more resourceful you are, the more you're going to be able to combine those resources in new and novel ways to produce an outcome that can't be produced if you're only focused on the individual resources. Okay, so resourcefulness is a good thing to think about. It's a good thing to pray about. It's a good thing to meditate on. It's a good thing to focus on in your life. And rather than asking for more resources, it's more resourcefulness. Or in other words, one of my favorite Bruce Lee statements is, do not ask for an easy life. Ask for the ability to handle a challenging life, or the ability to, I forget exactly what it is, like grow or conquer, something like that. So we need to claim our energy state. Okay, we need to consciously choose which one we are going to be in, come hell or high water. Because if we don't choose it, if we're not conscious about it, all of the subconscious programs and all of the subconscious systems around us will choose energy neutral for us. Because energy neutral is all about maintaining. And again, in a survival situation, maintaining is the best way to be. So unless we are choosing thriving, survival will be the status quo. Survival will be the default option. Energy neutral will be the default option. Staying the same will be the default option. So choose energy rich, or energy neutral will choose you. Okay, but remember, energy rich is the coherence and it's the dynamic between systems. And in order to really choose that, one of the ways that I know that I'm in an energy rich state is I feel very, very small, very, very humbled in the best way possible. It's not that I'm playing small, and it's not like I'm acting humble. It's just like, wow, there is so much going on around me that is so much bigger than me, that is just so much more complex and more in depth than I ever could have imagined. Wow, how amazing is it that I have the blessing to be this little cog in this massively, massively amazing, beautifully complex machinery in interaction. Okay, so one of the ways that I know that I'm energy rich is because there's a sense of humility, there's a sense of awe, and there's a sense of, it's definitely not me that's doing this. I'm just this little bitty part, and how blessed I am to be this little bitty part. Okay, so again, on that same note as before, choose humility. The more you need to be energy rich, you need to have a big impact. Life, nature, evolution rewards those individuals that are in a high energy state, that are giving off an abundance. Okay, life, evolution, this process, it actually eats, or it recycles those individuals that are in the poor state and are sucking more than they're giving off to the system. Okay, so we want to be able to choose energy rich, and because being energy rich is definitely, your survival is dependent on it, because in this system, anything that's not giving at least the same amount that it's taking, if not more, is going to be recycled, because this is a very, very efficient system. If you are not choosing humility, you are going to be humbled. And choosing humility is a way, way easier way to go through this than being humbled. Because again, you need to be humbled in order to recognize where you fit in. Now, humility is different for different people. Okay, for some people with humility, okay, it literally means not being so prideful, not being such a jerk, not thinking that you are the end all be all. Okay, but one of my favorite definitions of humility is by David R. Hawkins, and it is the accurate and realistic assessment and appreciation of boundaries and limitations. Okay, so just like somebody who thinks they are much bigger than their limitations can be prideful, and they need to move towards the middle, towards humility, someone who has low self-esteem, who's acting smaller than their real limitations are, they, in order to practice humility, need to step up more, need to move towards the pride, need to move towards the acting bigger, need to be moving towards where their realistic boundaries and limitations actually are. Okay, so choosing humility looks very different for different people, but like I said, given enough time, if you don't choose humility, you will be humbled, and most of the time that's through pain. Okay, so the difference between high, energy neutral, and rich is effort. Okay, it's the willpower, it's the trying, it's the struggling. Okay, high energy neutral is I'm gonna make this happen. It's all gonna be from me. Okay, I am trying to make it happen. I'm working on it. Okay, these are all high energy neutral states and statements. And remember, high energy neutral is way better than low energy neutral, and universe is better than energy poor. So it's not a bad thing, but just recognize there is this trap. Okay, but energy rich is this is happening effortlessly. Wow, how amazing that this is happening. And super rich, there's not even a sense of this is happening. It's just like, oh, wow. All right, so I want you to really think about this. I want you to take inventory, okay, in your life, in your experiences. How addicted to energy neutral are you? How addicted to this concept that if you are not blood, sweat, and tears all in, how addicted are you to the thought that if I'm going to accomplish something, it's going to be hard? It's going to be a challenge. I'm going to be exhausted. I'm going to need to put in all of this effort. Okay. There's a difference between hard work happening and working hard through effort. Yes, hard work does need to happen. Okay, but if you are energy rich, it's happening in a way that energizes you. So it's amazing that it's happening, and you're loving that it's happening, and you're in the zone, and you're enjoying it. Hang on just one second. Girls, if I have to ask you one more time. So, like I said, how addicted are you to the concept that life is hard and change is hard and it requires a lot of effort from you in order for that work to be done? Okay, this will show up in all sorts of crazy ways in our lives. I had a belief for a really long time that a lot of my relationships, is all about self-sacrifice, and it was all about, me being, having to give more than I received. And because it was effort and it was hard and I was giving and I was just giving myself out, I moved from a high energy neutral state, and I just gave and pushed and refused to receive until the point that a lot of my relationships entered the energy poor state and they literally collapsed. Okay, so when we are unconscious about the way that we are approaching things, we may be unconsciously working ourselves, efforting ourselves into the exact opposite of what we're going to try to achieve. Okay, but again, with energy rich, okay, with that interplay between systems, work will be done, but it's not the effort. Okay, we're no longer being fueled by fear and lack and shame and guilt. In high energy rich, we're being fueled by passion and joy and synchronicity and discovery and curiosity and awe and beauty. So like I said, it's not lazy. You're not just sitting there wishing everything just come to me. If I think hard enough and I feel hard enough about it, everything's going to come to me. No, there's definitely a doing part of this. Okay, but that whole law of attraction thing, the really insidious part about this that makes that very, very false is that the recognition of you do not attract what you think and what you feel. You attract what you are. You attract from your state of being. So is your state of being a high energy rich, abundant state of being? Are you an abundant person? And therefore your actions are abundant, your thoughts are abundant, your environment is abundant. Or are you a person that works hard and tries and effort? Because the more and more you work hard and try and effort, the more of that is going to show up in your life. The more opportunities for you to work hard through effort are going to show up, because that's the person, that's the being state that you are embodying. Okay. And there is the law of entrainment. Okay, and the law of entrainment is when there is two frequencies that interact, the more intense frequency will entrain or draw in the less intense frequency, and they will start to harmonize. So again, it's your state of being. It's the way that you are that determines what you attract and what you experience into your life through the law of attraction. It's not necessarily what you do or what you think or what you feel. All of those, what you do, think, and feel, they are also a result of your being state. So choosing that being state is ultimately where most of our conscious effort, conscious focus needs to be. So really take take an inventory in your life. How many subconscious beliefs do you have about how hard things are, about how much effort things need to be, about how much energy and draining it's going to require for you to make a change? Okay, a lot of these subconscious habits and beliefs will actually end up subconsciously having us go through change totally and completely opposite our nature. And if we are going totally opposite our nature, no change is going to come about. Okay, so again, how addicted are you to this energy neutral state where no change can happen? Either low energy neutral, we have all these excuses why, it's going to be hard and we're not going to do that, or it's not supposed to be this way, or blah, 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 blah. High energy neutral is just getting there and spending all of our energy just for the sake of being, of working hard. Okay, either one of those two ends will end up creating this non-change state or minimum change state. Okay, so in the recognition of your authentic nature, we also kind of have these different ways of being. Okay, we talked a little bit about internal versus external. Okay, and that's the way that we uniquely utilize energy, utilize potential. Okay, it's either flowing from the outside in or it's flowing from the inside out. Okay, but on the other end of that, we also have extrovert and introvert. Okay, and the way that I like to see extrovert is powered by others. They are energized by others, and an introvert is energized by themselves. Now, you can be an external introvert, you can be an internal extrovert. Okay, so you can be any combination of the one on the left side or the one on the right side. Okay, you can be any combination of the one on the bottom and the one on the top. Okay, but you are going to be one of these two. Okay, one top, one bottom, one left, one right. Okay, and whenever you recognize this, you can identify what is the best way for you to approach life. Okay, so if you are an extrovert, you are going to want to get a lot of inspiration from the people around you. You're going to want to put yourself in situations where, especially if you're a structure prime, there are people around you that are inspiring and have a high energy state. Okay, if you are an extrovert, you're going to want to think about other people and your perception. You're going to want to feel what would other people benefit from whenever you're approaching some sort of change. Okay, if you're an introvert, it's going to be the exact opposite. It's going to be, making sure that you have that focus on yourself, making sure that yourself is in that right mental space, making sure that yourself, before you go out and contact others, is going to be doing the things that need to be done for yourself so that you can achieve that, so that you are in that energy rich state. Okay, now again, this is kind of like the exercise that we did before, and finding the ways that we trick ourselves. Okay, because if you are addicted to energy neutral, and most of us are, just know this is not a bad thing. Energy neutral keeps things the same. So society wants us energy neutral, our families want us energy neutral, we, for the majority of our life, want to be energy neutral. So energy neutral is a very, very tricky thing to identify, but just accept most of us are very addicted to it. So if we are addicted to energy neutral in a lot of aspects in our life, when we think about, well, am I an introvert or whenever I'm an extrovert, we will probably come up with the exact opposite answer that's true. Okay, so in this, coming up with the exact opposite answer. I thought for a long time that I was an introvert. And in reality, I wasn't an introvert. What it was is I spent so much of my time with people, physically giving to people, emotionally tuning in and giving to people, building spaces for people like this office, that at the end of the day, I really needed to have that really low downtime in which I had very little stimulus around me. So people around me at the end of a really intense day, that was too much for me. And it's not because I'm an introvert. It's just because I needed a little bit more balance in my life. Okay, so for the longest time, I thought I was an introvert. And no, I'm not an introvert. I'm very, very extroverted. But at the same time, also, I need to acknowledge that I do need balance. So whenever I am thinking, about doing something, if I will make sure that my focus is on other people and getting feedback from other people and seeing the response and the impact that I have on other people, it energizes me so much more than whenever I think about the impact for myself, or I'm really thinking about what my gains are going to be. Okay. And again, if you're introvert, that doesn't necessarily mean that you're selfish, but it does mean that you need to receive kind of before you can give. And if you're an extroverted, you at least want to think about giving before you receive. Okay. And both are important, receiving and giving. We have to have that balance. Okay. If you want to, yes.
Barbara still wants some clarity on it, on external extrovert.
Okay. What we get, is there a specific question that you have on external extrovert?
All she said was she's still confused. But Barbara, if you want to.
So yes, okay. So external and internal are going to be the way that we use energy. Okay, the self. Okay, extrovert and introvert are going to be our dynamics with others. Okay, so if we're an external, what this means is that we need to see the bigger picture. We need to experience the world, experience existence as if all of this around me is here flowing in and charging me up. This out here is the primary, and this in here is the secondary. Okay, everything out there is just in an interaction with this amazing thing that's fueling me and that's giving to me. And I have the honor of being in relationship with all of this out here. Okay, if we're an internal, it's going to be the exact opposite. We are fueled from the inside. From an internal's perspective, all of that out there is a projection of what's going on really inside here. All of that out here has a space, has a connection with what's going on in here. As an internal, it's all about seeing the little bits and pieces, seeing the next couple steps. The big picture, that'll get taken care of, no big deal. But I don't know why, but I just know that this step right here and right now is really, really important. And it's building upon everything that I've experienced in the past. And an internal really needs to have that experience that they are backed up by everything and everyone in their past, and they are, in the lead, and all of their tribe is supporting them from behind. External needs to see that tribe all out in front, drawing them into that place or that space of the next big leap. Internals have to be super energized from the past with everyone around them to get charged up for that next big leap. So internal and external is much more a way of viewing, a way of observing. Extrovert and introvert is much more a way of interacting and being in relationship with ourselves and with others. So I hope that clears it up. We can talk a little bit about that kind of more towards the end.
She said, okay, got it. I think we're good.
Good. All right. So we must, if we are going to enact change, if we are going to act big change, we have to commit to extraordinary, extraordinary. Okay. The more ordinary we think, feel, and behave and experience, or the more ordinary we are in, the less change is going to happen. So extraordinary, extraordinary, the more we set our sights on that, the more we are naturally going to be pushed into this high energy state that's required for massive changes. Okay, we will never experience nor produce extraordinary by experiencing things in an ordinary way. Okay, so we need the adventure. We need to go out and have newness and novelty and see even the same old thing in a totally different perspective. Use that same old thing in a totally different way. Place that same old thing in a totally new structure in our life and a totally new part of our life. Okay, so one of the things that we can do to practice and to train ourselves for extraordinary is to practice extraordinary emotions. Practice unconditional love. Practice bliss. Practice excitement. Practice joy, not because circumstances are, just so happen to align where you get that experience. But no, you are claiming that and saying, this is the fuel source that I'm going to be running off of. And if this is the fuel source that I'm going to be running off, I need to be exquisitely sensitive to all of the nuances of these extraordinary emotions. Okay, so just sitting there does not mean you are a victim of your situation. Okay, any moment throughout your life can be a moment where you claim extraordinary. And when you claim extraordinary, all the systems around you start to sync up with that. They start to resonate, they start to harmonize with that, and they will actually start adding in and feeding in energy into your system. But you have to claim it. So you can claim it through your emotions. You can claim it through the way that you hold your body. This is a really important one for me. I don't know if anybody's ever watched while I'm adjusting people on the table, but there's a certain portion of the adjustment right before I actually come in contact with your body where I'm changing my posture in order to create a structure of an extraordinary state that I've experienced at some point. Okay, and then you will eventually experience at another point. So practicing an extraordinary posture, an extraordinary open-hearted posture, an extraordinary blissful posture, a posture of blessing and receiving those blessings. Practicing an extraordinary posture is really, really good, especially if you're a structure prime. Okay, the facial expressions that you have, okay, you can change the thoughts that you have in your brain, and this is studied in laboratory setting, by just practicing happy emotions, practicing real smiling. Now, we talked about in our self-love class a couple of Thursdays ago, we talked about the importance of mirror work. Okay, this is where practicing your facial expressions, training your body to express these higher emotions. If you are a behavior lead, practicing the facial expressions of the different emotions is going to be very, very powerful in training your system to create the chemistry of those emotions. Okay, if you're practicing the actual emotions themselves, well, that's a great way if you are a oh my gosh, sorry, my girls are just blaring one of their songs and it just totally got caught in my head. If you're a perception prime, then practicing these emotions is a great strategy. Okay, so feeling each one of these, feeling the facial expressions, practicing the facial expressions, carving out times within your day, a structure of when you're going to practice this commitment to extraordinary. Okay, recognize that what your normal is. Okay, just lay it out. This is what I normally do. And consciously choose to do things differently. Consciously choose to experience things differently. If someone comes up and they cut you off in traffic, tell yourself a story about why that needed to happen. Maybe it slowed you down just a little bit. And if you would be going a little bit faster, you might be, missing some sort of accident or collision or something else like that. So rearrange the way that you express things so that you can explore experiencing things in a totally different way. Okay. The power of new and novel cannot be underestimated, or cannot be, overestimated. Okay. So practice newness, practice novelty. Okay. This is the way that we change and rewire our brain, is through new and novel. Okay. The more things become repetitive, the more they become rote, the more they become unconscious, the less and less of our brain we are using. Okay. And the more that portion of our brain gets ingrained into a specific habit, and that habit is tied into old experiences, ordinary emotions. And if those ordinary emotions for you, ordinary experiences, are not something that you want to repeat, then newness and novelty is the way out of this. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and open this up to questions. So I'm going to go try it now and close the door and do not come back out. Do not come back out until I'm done. Okay. So let's see. Zoe, please turn that down. We're going to allow everybody to talk. All right. So, Connie, if you will check in on Facebook and see, are there any questions?
I do not see any comments on Facebook.
All right. Let's see. What do we got? Anybody want to, oh, we got 2 hands up. Okay, so Kathy, go for it since you're already unmuted.
Okay, I'm still trying to discern whether I'm perception prime or behavior prime. Structure is probably my drain, because I get really stiff whenever I think about that. I just get enclosed and stiff.
Uh-huh.
So I'm thinking structure is my drain, but then, maybe I'm just addicted to low energy, or, neutral energy is not low, but whenever I quote unquote manifest, what I do, and this is just automatic, is I see I see a picture, and I feel the emotions in that picture, and it's a moving picture. I see us, getting together at Thanksgiving, and we're having fun, and we're laughing, and everybody's joyful and happy.
Okay. So hang on, before you go there, is there a time that you can remember off the top of your head in which you manifested something and it came in a really extraordinary way?
Well, actually kind of happens frequently whenever I do that.
Good. So grab one of those instances. And in that instance, when you were manifesting, right before that extraordinary, it came into your life in an extraordinary way, were you experiencing and seeing the moving picture with the feeling? Or did you start having the feeling and then see the moving picture?
Okay, I never thought about that. I probably see the moving picture first, and then the emotions just follow quickly after.
Yep. And so that would indicate that more likely you are behavior. So this would be something that you could do, is set up, a list of things that you want to experience, that you want to see come into your life. And half of that list, do the picture of it and then the feeling, and the other half of the list, do the feeling of it and then the picture, and see which ones show up in a more extraordinary way. Maybe not necessarily more of them show up, but which ones just shock you in how amazing that they actually show up.
Well, you know what, just whenever I think about doing the feelings first, for whatever reason, that does not feel, quote unquote, feel good to me.
Okay.
Just automatic.
This might be where energy neutral may have you. So we want to make this an experience. So, you're going to have to experience this rather than just thinking and feeling about it. So I guess if you make that list and then go through it.
And then just experience. Okay.
Yep.
Gotcha. Okay. And also, I'm I'm thinking I am an introvert because I external introvert, because I go to myself first and think things through before I gather information from other people. As a
Okay.
matter of fact, okay.
And in doing that, does that produce extraordinary for yourself and for others? So just because that's the typical way that you do that does not necessarily mean it's your ideal way. So that
Right.
would,
And that's what I'm trying to figure out. Is it, do I do that as a protective mode just because of that's the way I've learned it culturally, or how do I figure that out?
it'd be the same thing as, kind of come up with different ways that you can experience that. In one scenario, go and gather all the other opinions, think about think about whatever it is and how that's going to affect everyone else. Think about everyone else being lit up around you. And then go to your thoughts, your feelings, your opinions, and then do it the other way in different situations. And again, look at what shows up out of that is extraordinary, that is beyond what you would create if it were just you in a system rather than you being in relationship with these systems.
Okay, so just get out there and ask before I think it through, ask other people about what they think and what they feel about whatever it is.
Yeah, but also think about whatever it is and how is that going to impact them? Because if they're lit up and fueled and you are an extrovert, if they're lit up and fueled and you are fueled by others, that's going to produce more extraordinary than just thinking about how it's going to light you up and fuel you, which would be much more important for an introvert or a fueled by self.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, thank you. I appreciate that.
Kat, I also just wanted to add in, I saw Sandy commented on Facebook.
Okay.
He said, finding limiting of reaching extraordinary caused by conflicting roles and perceptions that counter each other. So the net effect is a cancellation of energies.
Yep, absolutely. That's the greatest way to be stuck. Be internal and external simultaneously. Be introvert and extrovert simultaneously. Believe in circumstances and try to create extraordinary simultaneously. That is the best way to screw yourself over. All right.
So I would assume the opposite of that is how you would get out of that?
Yep, exactly. Choose one and go in that direction and explore. And if extraordinary is the result of your exploration, you are in your authentic nature. Keep going. If extraordinary is not the result of that, switch it up, change it up, turn on a dime. Give yourself permission to be totally and completely different. All right, Barbara, I cannot unmute you for whatever reason. So if you would unmute yourself, if you still have a question. Oh, no.
Actually it was the other one, but now that you're saying. So for the trial of change, when you were saying, you were talking about people, you think about someone that inspires you, or if that was a word that you used. So you relate that to like a picture, a feeling, and what was the other one?
Like a movie. So is the picture that you have, is it a still snapshot? Is it this solid structure? Or is it dynamic? Is it moving? Is it flowing? Is it changing?
Okay. And each one relates to, like the movie, I guess that's the movement.
That would be behavior, correct.
Oh, behavior. Oh, okay. And the feeling will be?
Perception. And it can be a feeling, but it also could be a story. Or like I said, perception people, they'll have all these analogies for things. Because again, it's all about the story and what it means. It's the information rather than the thing itself.
Okay. And to have just a picture that is structured then? Yep.
It's much more of a solid object. It's a thing whenever you feel it, whenever you imagine it. rather than a movement or a story or a feeling.
Thank you, Tom.
Uh-huh. So Rachel, yes, you say this reminds you of the Sufis who shake and whirl and scream and sing for days and hours. Yes, that's what this is all about. And that's literally one of the main reasons that they do what they do, is to get into that flow where all of the flow is happening through them and they're riding that flow. They found that still point. They found that point at which they are in the midst of all of this change and all of this dynamic. For anybody that's ever practiced that Sufi swirl and twisting, that's the whole the art of it, is to find that authentic place of being in which you are totally in flow with the movement, with the sound, with the feelings. Yes, so this is very, very much along the lines with that. Thank you for that comment, Rachel. So anybody else? Yes, we got another hand up. Amory, go for it. All right.
There we go.
There you go. We were fighting over the mute.
I know that external and internal, like, you don't change. Like, you're one of those. What about extrovert and introvert? Does that change?
No, not necessarily.
Okay.
That's going to be, but again, kind of finding out that balance, because you don't want to be only external. Okay, because
right.
The goal in all of this is to get energized and bring that energy to the opposite end of the spectrum, knowing that one end of the spectrum is going to be energizing and the other end is going to be draining. But we want, in order to be extraordinary, we want to have the ability to be and act as both internal, external, extrovert, introvert. However, we have to recognize which end do we need to go to gain energy and which end do we need to go to in order to give energy. Okay. And the triad of change also, this is your prime, the lead, the one that works absolute best for you. And we don't know this for sure because we don't have all of the research together yet from a scientific standpoint, but it seems like the theory, the prediction is that your prime is going to be like your authentic way. Okay. The one that you were born with. Your keystone probably has a lot more to do with the way that you were raised and the influences that you had around you. Okay. So as you start to heal, as you start to become more and more authentic, as you start using your prime, your lead strategy, much, much more as a habitual way of going, you actually end up not really having a drain. Okay, so your keystone and your drain, they can be interchanged throughout your life, depending on how much energy that you have. If you are in an energy-rich state or a super energy-rich state, there is no drain. If you are in an energy-rich state or super energy-rich state, it doesn't matter if you focus on being internal or external, introvert or extrovert. Just getting into that state allows you to be able to ebb and flow between the spectrum. Okay. And that was one other thing I didn't bring up is all of these are a spectrum. You can be more on one of the extreme ends or you can be closer to the middle. But each one of us is going to be on one side of that middle line, depending on which side that it is. And that's pretty much just the way that you are. But again, that's not the way that you always need to be. You can be a lot of different ways and a lot of different things, but always owning, always honoring who and what you are. Okay. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Anybody else? Woo!
Hey, Tad.
Yes.
Yeah. So just a little confused on that triad. So behavior. So the movie and the dynamic and that's all the positive side. And then whatever you said on the perception side, that was the one that I put the negative to. So, and I'm just kind of confused. What does that mean? Prime, keystone? I wasn't following all of that.
Yeah, so your prime is the best way to approach change with. Your keystone is the middle way. It's not the most efficient, but it's not the least efficient. And the keystone is typically the one that you are most in the habit of approaching change with. And then your drain at the very end, that's the one that's going to be the least efficient to approach change with. So if I can kind of give you an example, like if you were going to make a change and you were going to start working out, you were going to start exercising, and that was going to be a part of who you are from here on out. Okay. If you're a structure prime, then the best way that you are actually going to achieve becoming a person who exercises on a regular basis is you are going to schedule your exercise time into your day. There's an order at which you do your exercise. You're going to go into a gym in which the environment around you, the structures around you are all focused on exercise. Okay. If you are a behavior lead, then the best way to go through, an exercise is just to start doing it, just to get into it. And it doesn't really matter. You could change the exercise routine up on a daily basis if you wanted to. You could do that exercise routine anywhere and any place, and it really wouldn't matter. It's the actual motion. It's the actual act of the exercise that energizes you and fuels you. And then if you are a perception lead, then in order to become a person who exercises on a regular basis, you would need to learn about exercise. You would need to hype yourself up before you go exercise in order for you to be able to go through the motions, in order for you to have that as a structure in your life. Does that clear it up?
It's a great explanation. The problem is I find myself, much as other things, floating between all three of them.
Yes. And so what you really want to look for in this, Doug, is when those times in your life, and play around with them, do this consciously, when you enact change using one of these as your lead, using one of it as the lens that focuses the other two, how much extraordinary change comes about. Okay. How much, there was some change, and then how many times you would try to approach it in this way and it just totally collapses and you don't really get anywhere and it just sucks and you never want to try that change again. That'll kind of help you identify, which one. So play around with this. This is an experience much more than it's something that you need to understand. So feel it out, Doug, and see which way, whenever you approach whatever change, whether it's the behavior of the change, whether it's the structure or the order of the change, or whether it's the feeling or the information about the change, which one of those produces the most extraordinary amount of change.
Okay. Thanks.
All right. Anybody else? Amory, you have your hand up again, or did I just not put it down?
Nope, you just didn't put it down.
Okay. Lower hand. So unless anybody else has any questions, this one went a little bit long. Thank you guys for putting up with all of this. I know this was a little bit different, and I've gotten a couple of different suggestions on some of the things for classes in the future. We're going to do some things on geometry and shapes. We've done one on sounds and colors, but the geometry and shapes involve the sounds and colors. So Barbara wanted to learn a little bit more about shape and form. So we're gonna go ahead and put one of those together. But as you are thinking about, what types of topics would you want to learn about, please not only suggest them, but also give me some suggestions of things that you know a lot about that you feel could help all of us. Okay. And you and I, if you're comfortable, you could do one of these all on your own. or you and I could do this together. So please, if there is something that you find has been super, super helpful in your life, something that has just been an amazing inspiration to you, something that has just been like, wow, if everyone knew this, their lives would be so much easier. If everyone knew this, they would act in a way that would make my life so much easier if you're an introvert. But think about some topics, some things that you could share, because this is about the we, and we really want to make it much more about the we moving forward into the future. So thank you, everyone. And Tasha wants to know about figuring out your gifts. Well, Tasha, I will tell you that the information that we gave today about being in your authentic nature, if you are acting and being in your authentic nature, you will notice that you will just automatically be sharing your gifts. So yeah, we could talk a little bit about that, but that's kind of a really broad topic because everyone has unique gifts. So I think for most of us, it's much more important to focus on being authentic and allowing those gifts to flow rather than figuring out what those gifts are and then efforting into them. All right. So thanks everybody for tuning in and showing up. I love you, and we will see you very soon.